What's going on, guys? We have Joey Nguyen here, captain in the Army. He is currently a nurse, and coincidentally, he was the first guy to teach me how to take a blood pressure. He has graced us with his presence today. He's about to embark on a different chapter, a new chapter on his life in Germany, meeting up with the little bro, Lucas Nguyen. Joey, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
All right. So the kind of topics that I do want to get into today are what type of person should be getting into the military. And you're in a unique position to where you're not, seeing combat or the typical things that most people may think about when they think about the military or the Army. And that being said, I do want you to lay out some options or some directions for people that are thinking about the military and how to go about it, and maybe down the line, if you could redo anything or give advice for people that do want to pursue that, how would you do things differently? So I guess right now, as a nurse, where do you work? What do you do as a nurse?
So I just came from Georgia,
Okay.
where I worked at. I was in charge of the clinic out there. So the clinic that I was in charge of they oversaw about 4,000 soldiers. Active duty population. Did that for a little bit, but now moving on to Germany, I'll be what they call the regimental nurse out there. So another name for it is brigade nurse.
Brigade nurse.
So with this job, there's no clear defined duty and description for it. It's just what you make out of it. But basically, for the most part, I'll be in charge of overseeing, again, 4,000 soldiers, their medical readiness, immunizations, just things like that. Easy way to put it is pretty much I'm almost like I guess it's almost like a school nurse.
School nurse, okay.
I just keep track of everyone's medical stuff and immunizations, making sure they see the doctors when they need to, things like that.
Is it still very clinical at that level?
At that level, I can do clinical stuff, but my focus is to basically make sure the soldiers are medically ready to deploy.
So more administrative then, in a way, or liaison, or?
I guess you can say liaison.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a medical asset to the brigade commander.
Okay.
So if he has any questions, I work along with the brigade surgeons to provide those medical answers to the commander, basically.
Now, big question, Joey. Is it still fulfilling to you at this point? How many years have you been in the Army now, and is it still fulfilling?
So, I'm an officer, so I came in through ROTC. I did 4 years of ROTC, which doesn't really count towards your active duty service, but we still got paid because we were under a ROTC scholarship.
Okay.
So I did 4 years of that, and then I've done about 6 years active duty.
Okay. But still, I mean, if you could recommend it to someone that was thinking about the military, maybe if early on, you'd still recommend ROTC over enlisting, or would you?
So, in my opinion, I think you have to get your education first. And if you get your education, and you want to serve the military, you become an officer, and you have a little bit better, you have a more better, I guess, lifestyle outlook on life.
Okay.
My brother's enlisted.
Yeah.
He definitely has a lot harder than I do.
Okay.
It's just a different type of.
Do they have to kind of earn their way up in a way, a little, put the time in before they?
Both officers enlisted have to put their time in.
Okay.
I guess an easy way to put it for someone that doesn't really understand the military is the enlisted folks are they're at the front lines. They're the grunts, the ones that work day in, day out. Officers are more of the supervisors or managers, those type of folks.
Okay.
So I'm not saying we don't work at all. We still have to work, but the enlisted definitely have a harder lifestyle.
Okay.
They get paid a lot less than officers for sure, which shouldn't be the case, but
Right. They still work, you know.
yeah. So I mean, I encourage people to get their education first,
Okay.
and then, you know, if you can't, then of course you can always enlist into the military.
Right. How does junior ROTC work?
So that's the high school.
Do they get paid for any, like,
they don't get
stipends?
paid.
No
So-
stipends or anything? Okay.
So from my understanding, most high schools that have the JROTC programs, it's an elective for them. They, instead of gym class, they do military science classes basically.
Okay.
A lot of people that went through ROTC were in JROTC.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. At one point in your life, did you know you wanted to be in the military?
I guess since I was a baby. I mean, there's a picture.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You know what? Like, when I knew you in college, I know you were in ROTC, but like I never asked that question. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Actually.
I think it's just you know, there's a baby picture of me with
Is
a
there
military
really?
uniform on. Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, growing up, boy being a boy, you go around playing soldiers and stuff like that.
Sure.
I always actually thought when you join the military, everyone's gonna be an infantryman, basically.
Right. It's a common. Is it a common misconception
It is.
still? Or?
It is.
Okay.
I think it wasn't until college that someone actually told me, like, you know, you don't have to be an infantryman or an artilleryman to be in the military. There's medical people in the military too.
Right.
And that's when I was like, really?
Yeah.
Well, tell me more, basically.
Right. But that being said, like, you probably wanted to be on the front line. So like, what changed that trajectory for you? Like that direction?
I still do.
Oh, what the?
I still do.
Now, is there any possibility of like switching? Or are you too deep into nursing?
At this point, I'm pretty much too
Like,
deep.
you'd have to restart, kind of thing, or
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I had a chance to. We call it branching into another military branch.
Okay.
So I'm talking about. I had a chance to do armor or field artillery, infantry, things
Okay.
like, you know, Castillo, Cranbrook, those guys. But
yeah.
at the time, my battalion commander wouldn't sign off on it because he was a field artillery person.
You would have outranked him or something?
No, I wanted to go armor.
Okay.
And you know, there's always there's some, what do you call it?
Animosity, or?
No, I would call it. You know, some people in the military, when you're an armor officer or a field artillery officer, they're always fighting against each other just for like fun and games.
Okay.
And you know, he told me that, you know, if you didn't want to be an FA officer, I'm not gonna sign off on it because he didn't want me to be a tanker, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to feel about that. I mean, he kind of like shot your dreams down.
He did, but he also did say, you know, you are going to nursing school, and this might be the better outlook for you in life anyway. So he was kind of looking out for me.
So this is throughout. This is through nursing school.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know, I don't regret this.
No regrets.
Yeah.
Okay. Dang.
And I'm glad he didn't sign off on the paperwork too, in a way, because I wouldn't have met my wife.
That's so true.
Yeah.
Joey's a family man now too. Wow. You know what? Like, yeah, I didn't know Davey, so another good buddy of ours, Joe Davey. I didn't know he was interested in ROTC, and it was just he doesn't tell us things, and maybe you're aware of that.
He's a pretty quiet guy.
He's a quiet guy.
Yeah.
And it came as a shock when he joined ROTC, and like freshman year, like he never talked about it at all. But he's thriving in it as well, and maybe we can have him on one day. But you know, if I maybe met you like a semester earlier or a year earlier, I'd probably been like, I wish I might have wanted to do ROTC, especially with the background knowledge of, hey, you could do something medical related in this and take it in that direction, because I had that misconception of like, I don't want to like hold a gun, like I don't want to be on the field like that. So I wish I knew that. So for people that don't know what they want to do, maybe in high school or maybe still in college contemplating ROTC, you know, we see those booths like inviting people to come, like, and those recruiting booths to come and join. What type of person is it for? Like, should it be mandatory that like they want, like in their core, like love their country, or do they just do it because it's a potential like job option, like a career option?
I think in my opinion, people should definitely have love for country.
Yeah.
If they're joining the military. Um, Once you have that, if you have love for country, I guess if you're always gonna fight for your country,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not gonna have. We'll just put it that way. You have to have love for country in order to be in the military.
Okay. And
Because
have
if
you found people that don't that are in the military?
I ran into people who don't have love for country, which is the wrong reason why you're doing it, and it creates a negativity.
Mm.
They're always negative about everything.
Or just like apathetic kind of thing.
And when you're around someone like that, it might affect other people.
Yeah.
Especially when morale is low, you'll bring more people down with you and everything like that. So it creates a domino effect.
Is there a way to filter for that in the recruiting process?
I don't think so.
It's tough. Hiring in general is tough.
Yeah, because I mean, of course, the military has their numbers. They have to make their quota every year.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say a lot of people join for the wrong reason, but some people just have no other option of what to do, so they have to join the military.
Okay.
I mean, that's okay too.
Yeah. So, and not everyone is born or find out that they have a passion early on. Like maybe, not everyone knows that they want to join the military early on or whatever it is. So I am a believer of like kind of do something for a little bit, cultivate yourself in it, and hopefully you'll find some part of it that resonates with you, and hopefully, maybe there's a creative aspect to it, a leadership aspect to it. Maybe you get to manage a team, and you might enjoy that, and maybe you're giving back to something, and those characteristics of a job or a career might lend to some sense of like fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe that as well, and like you're not born with a passion, and so I do believe that. But I also agree with like you have to care. Like if you're joining the military, you should care about the country that you're serving, or
Right.
if you're joining a certain company, you should care for that mission statement that the company stands
Exactly.
behind. So and I agree, it's very tough to filter for that that character trait. Anyone can just put up a front during the hiring process. What part have you really enjoyed about the military? And if I were to guess, like from the outsider's perspective, this is seen in like the firefighter space as well, and police space, and the blue collar space. I guess it's the like camaraderie.
Yes.
Like the teamwork and the camaraderie. And have you grown, like met friends or like that maybe have become almost family like through the military?
Oh, yeah. And that's almost one of the things where that's what I enjoy the most.
Okay.
One of the reasons why I'm still serving.
Okay.
We're pretty blessed because we're from Chicago. Or we're not from Chicago, but we're from this area.
Yeah.
Right? It's a big melting pot.
Big military population, you said, or?
No, it's a melting pot here.
Oh, yeah.
But when you join the military, you have people who are from small towns where maybe they've never met a black person in their life.
Okay.
An Asian person, whatever.
Okay.
But once they join the military, you're more diversified.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I've definitely enjoyed meeting people from all types of backgrounds, and we all, other than love of country, we also have other common. We love certain things, and it puts us all together.
Well, you find
brings
that
us all
you
together.
find that you have more similarities
Right.
than differences after everything is said and done. And like, I mean, this might be a little extreme, but the way like the military does it is like uniforms and like proper hair and things like that. Everyone kind of looks uniform and similar. And when you take everything away, like all of our like shallow differences, superficial differences, like you find out that like, yeah, we are, more similar than different, and maybe we can get along, kind of thing. And I do like that about the military. Is there anything on the flip side that you might not see eye to eye with, or maybe like not really from the military standpoint, but maybe like things that you saw from your previous leaders or managers that you didn't see eye to eye, like different styles, or anything you could change about the Army?
I think that's why I love the military so much too, is because you run into people that aren't the same as you, so you're always going to be butting heads with people.
Oh, okay.
I can tell you with my experiences, or through my experiences, I've ran into a lot of leaders, both officers and enlisted, who I bumped head with tons of times, and we will never agree with anything.
Okay.
But there's always, you can always learn from people like that too.
Okay.
I call that my what not to be like, or what wrong looks like.
You never come to the same common ground on something at all?
Mm-mm.
It's so.
I guess love
But
for country.
you can't be. Yeah. I mean, you can't be like best friends with everyone. I totally agree with that. And like for example, on the ambulance, you're stuck with this one person for maybe 8 to 12 hours, and you don't have to love them. You don't have to like them even as a friend. But when you have a patient in front of you, you know, you have to do what's best for the patient. So
Right.
whatever drama or BS you have between you two, like, you have to like put it to the side. So I mean, hopefully, like, when it comes to like some big decisions or something, I'm sure like you guys can come to some sort of like middle ground or agreement. But yeah, I agree. Like, it's definitely better to be around people that you don't see eye to eye with all the time, because that only makes you like a more diverse and
Right.
and well-rounded person.
And opens up your mind as well.
Yeah. So that being said, I mean, on the flip side, like, have you seen people that are completely closed off, and has that hurt them in the long run? Or has the military completely humbled like even the hardest like
No,
egg?
I mean, I've definitely seen people who, you know, are set in their way and they won't change.
Okay. If you could, I mean, do it all over again, or give advice to maybe if you had another Lucas, like, what would you say? If Lucas was right here, and he's obviously still in the Army, like he likes it and he wants to be in it, what could, and we don't have to take Lucas as an example, like, but what could someone do differently?
I would tell Lucas he should have stayed in school.
Okay. Even though he was flip-flopping his major, like,
he was flip-flopping
4 times.
Yeah, I mean, but you know, he's doing what he's doing what he's got to do, you know. I will still encourage people to go to school.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, you know, if you get a military, well, if you can't go to school, you can join a military, and the military will be able to pay for your school.
Okay.
You know, you do your 4 years, you get out, and you can use the TA, the tuitions assistance, or the GI Bill, and you can go then go to school.
Yeah.
So I've met a lot of people that's done it through that route. But what would I tell someone differently?
Yeah.
Your heart just has to be there.
Your heart has to be there. Yeah.
You know, if you want to join the military, you just have to know that you're there for 4 years. You may not like it, you may love it, but you're there for 4 years, and just take advantage of what the military has to offer you for those 4 years. And you know, just move on after that.
Yeah. So throughout their 4 years, and you might have seen this while you were in even ROTC, but you know, through ROTC you get stipends, right? And sometimes you can live a little lavishly sometimes. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
But even like in the military, when you get those like checks, like, and some people don't have maybe like financial advisors. I don't know if the Army provides like advisors like that, but like, do you see people like just blowing their checks like left and right?
I mostly see it within the enlisted ranks, but there are officers who also blow through their money as well. I consider myself pretty knowledgeable in the military and what the military has to offer. But there are financial advisors, financial classes that are offered for the military.
Oh, really?
Which you should take advantage of, especially when, you know, if you join the military right out of high school, not many high schools will have a finance class or something like that. So you should take advantage of things like that.
Yeah.
Or even someone like me, you know, 29 years old. There's nothing wrong with a 29-year-old guy that going to those classes to get like the 401 or the 101 on things.
For sure.
Brush up on your financial skills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because there are some things where you just you may have never known, and it's free.
No, yeah, they don't teach us like tax stuff or accounting stuff in high school. At least I didn't, and not even I didn't take any of those classes in college. I'm only doing it now because I'm getting my MBA, and that like it still goes over my head.
Yeah, I mean some things go over my head as well.
So then, making those like poor decisions, like does that, and amongst other poor decisions, like what can people do to put themselves in a better position for life, maybe after the military?
So they should definitely take advantage of resources like that, like the financial classes that the Army offers for free at the education centers and stuff like that. But they should really start to, start a savings account and investments account. Put some money aside, even if it's just a couple bucks every month or I guess every paycheck, because it's better than nothing.
What about on top of, aside from money, maybe like career stuff, like for civilian, like when they get back to the real world, like where's the disconnect? Like why can't they transition as easily as they should? And from the outsider's perspective, I think we're blaming the government. I don't know, but is there any blame to be placed on the individual for not transitioning properly?
So for me, I think the blame is on an individual.
Oh, okay.
You're your own advocate, basically. When you do transition out of the military, they do require you to go through transitional classes.
Oh, okay.
So they offer those finance classes, and they help you put together your resume and just things like that too. But you can always start earlier than that. Like I said, the Army has educational centers where they have, you can do online classes and things like that, and you can work towards getting a degree while you're serving in the military.
Oh.
You can.
Oh, that's dope.
It is, you're putting in a little bit extra work than your friends are, but at the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. And I think that's why a lot of soldiers fail when they do get out of the military, is because they're sitting around in their barracks, or they're messing around doing God's know what, instead of educating themselves, going to classes, helping themselves.
Yeah. I like that. When it comes time to deciding which branch you want to go into, how does that come into play? Like, how do you know? I guess it's like what your heart's in it, but like within the Army, how do you choose which like focus to go to? Whether it's like medical or field artillery. Infantry.
When you go in as enlisted,
it's
based off your Asvab scores.
Okay. And for those that don't know, like me, what is Asvab?
So that's the Army testing that you do. I guess you can call it, it's like the ACTs.
Oh, okay.
You just take the Asvab, and depending on how well you do on it, will determine what types of jobs you can hold in the military.
Really? Like, so they test like analytical thinking and critical thinking, and
Exactly.
Are you more technical? Are you more creative? Are you?
And they'll try to, depending on how well you score in that, they'll try to put you in a branch where you would excel at.
Okay.
So obviously, if you don't score high in your ASVAB, you're gonna be in
I feel like I remember you guys having that conversation when you guys got your ASVABs back in ROTC.
No, we don't take the ASVAB.
That wasn't in ROTC? Okay. I feel like, but you guys had that conversation of like you had options of like which one you wanted to.
So when you go in as an officer, now I went in through ROTC. So when you do an ROTC, you do your military science classes, and then between your senior year of college, you go to LDAC, which is, I think they renamed it now.
Oh, okay.
And that's what you're
faintly
talking
remember
about.
that LDAC, yeah.
And that's essentially a month-long final exam, I guess you can call it. When we went out to, I went to Fort Knox, where it was basically a final exam of everything I've learned in the last 3 years of military science classes. So military 101, how to go through battle drills, your PT score gets taken into account, and essentially what it is just basically a kind of like the NFL Combine.
Okay.
So you do all these testing, going through battle drills, land navigation, marksmanship, just things like that, where you get put on a order of merit list.
Okay.
And depending on how well you do on the OML, the order of merit list, determines almost like a lottery pick on what branch you get to pick, or what branch you get, because you'll rank all the branches from 1 to 16. So nurse corps is a given, because if you graduate with a nursing degree, you're almost 99.9% you go into the nurse corps. But we'll list like armor, field artillery, infantry, quartermaster, just those branches. You rank them from 1 to 6, 1 being your number 1 pick. And depending on how well you do in the OML, it's kind of like a matching system.
Okay.
Kind of like medical school.
Sure. Yeah. Matching in medical school. That's cool.
So for us, you want to do well in your final exam.
Yeah.
And you want to do well on. You want to do well in ROTC, because you want to get your number 1 pick, or at least your top 3.
Right. What about the people that go through ROTC and don't commission?
So, ROTC is awesome because now, of course, I graduated in 2012, so I don't know if it's still the same. But ROTC can be taken as a college elective class for 2 years.
Okay.
Essentially, junior or your freshman and sophomore year, right?
Okay.
And on your 3rd year of ROTC, they pretty much say you need to sign a contract, which basically says, when I graduate, I will commission into the Army or whatever. Because the Navy has theirs and the Air Force has their ROTC too. So basically, when you graduate, you'll commission to the military, and then you serve your 4 years. If you don't want to sign a contract, it was great having you. Thank you so much. I hope you learned something. But you can't take this class anymore.
After the 2
years. So I encourage a lot of people to even just take it.
Yeah. And you can start at any. Can you start at any level, or do you have to be freshman, sophomore?
You can start at any level. It's just 2 years. So I mean, I've seen juniors and seniors taking ROTC.
So what do they do for the next 2 years?
Well, essentially, you graduate college, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So they commission after the 2 years, or
no? It's just elective classes.
Oh, so they stick around just for the elective classes?
Yeah, some people do it.
Okay.
I think last time when I graduated USC, they had civilians that were welcomed into the program.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And you do PT with the cadets.
Yeah.
You go to classes with them and everything like that.
Right. Because they're not students anymore, or so I'm talking about, like, if I was a junior or senior in college and I wanted to start ROTC and I graduated college, I still need to do 2 more years, right?
So you're saying, if you're a junior,
I wanted to start ROTC.
You want to start ROTC, and then you want to commission?
Yeah.
Okay, so,
right? Like, what am I doing for the 2 years?
So from my experience, if you're a junior and you want to do ROTC, and essentially you want to join the military after you graduate, right? So what you would do is, during your summer, over the summer, you go to an accelerated ROTC program, where they'll just cram everything that you would have learned in those 2 years in ROTC into, I think it's a month long. I'm not sure.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
But they basically, it's accelerated course.
I didn't know that.
And then you graduate from that program, and then when you start semesters up, again, your junior year, essentially you should be caught up with everyone else.
Oh,
and then you take the last 2 years of military science classes,
and then you'll be with the same
level.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, nice. That's really cool.
Sorry, I thought you meant if.
No, I mean that's kind of the shoes that I would have been in then if I did it. I would have had to play catch up in the summertime.
Yeah, I think some people think that if you do ROTC, you're obligated, but you're not obligated until.
That, and I maybe felt like it was too late, maybe.
No,
okay,
see that,
and that's cool.
Some people do ROTC for just a semester. They do it for semester and say, man.
Like, but too late with the intentions to commission.
Oh,
so
no.
I'd be like, how's I should have asked like how's this
You
gonna work if
you had all of us.
I know. I know.
But I mean, you can still commission in the military as an officer.
OCS school, right? Or is that
Direct commission.
What is it?
Direct commission.
Direct commission. Okay.
Yeah. So that's how my wife got into it. That's how Melissa got into it. She was in college, finished college.
No ROTC.
No ROTC.
Oh,
and
okay.
she said, I want to serve my country.
Wow.
So she went to a nurse recruiter's office. They wanted her, and she did like now you have to do a course for like 2-3 weeks. I don't know how long it is, but they send you a course where you learn military 101.
Okay.
And then you go to your next step is like basic officer leaders course.
Okay.
Which is what we call BOLIC.
Okay.
That way you don't show up on your first day in the military looking all laid up. Yeah, at least you know a little bit of the military.
Yeah. I feel like we talked about this in college as well, but like how much and you believe in the saying of like you need to give respect to get it, but you know, with people that enlists and you come on as an officer maybe without as much hands-on experience or life experience in the military, did you experience any of that riff in respect or maybe disrespect from people maybe that were in it longer than you but still have a lower rank technically?
I think I ran. There might be a couple times where I did get that feeling. Okay. Essentially, when you commission in the military, you come in as a second lieutenant,
mm-hmm.
and you know, some privates have more time in service than you do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see the memes all over the internet and stuff like that when it comes to lieutenants and stuff. But you know, sometimes you just got to be humble about it.
Yeah, and they learn who you are and
mm-hmm.
how you operate, and then they eventually.
I ran into, you know, a good amount of lieutenants where they come in and they think they're God, which is the wrong way to go about it.
Right,
know?
right.
You just have to know your place.
Right.
It's, you know, in a way it is kind of about rank, but you do have to respect.
Give it to get it kind of
mm-hmm.
thing, and know your place. Like know that like this could be something that other people are thinking, so tread softly or tread
mm-hmm.
lightly, and I guess you are a huge like example of this, but like let your actions speak for themselves.
Exactly.
And then they'll follow kind of thing. So, and you know, recently you've been like you said 4,000 nurses. You're in charge of like 4,000. Or
my old job
or soldiers, like yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't in charge of them. I oversaw their.
Okay.
Yeah, they came to the troop medical clinic, and you know they got care at my clinic.
Oh, okay. And so, how do you keep all that in check? Like like that's
you
a lot
have
of
to trust those that you work along with.
So you have people that help you manage.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In a way.
Okay.
So, essentially, I was a clinic manager.
Mm-hmm.
I had my NCOIC, which is non-commissioned officer, in charge.
Okay.
Who is E7, Sergeant First Class, and him and we oversaw the clinic operations.
Okay.
At a higher level.
Yeah.
And then we had our core people who were the PAs, the providers, the PAs. We had 2 MDs who were basically in charge of about 1,000 soldiers or so.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how familiar with impanelments and stuff like that.
Impalements?
Impanelments, yeah.
With like things in the body?
No,
or?
so
impediments, or I've never heard that word.
So each provider is impaneled a certain amount of soldiers.
Yep, never heard.
So let me try to see if I can break this down. So in a clinic, one PA can see up to 1,200 soldiers.
So like workload, you're talking about
workload,
workload.
yeah.
Okay.
and it's broken up by battalions.
Okay.
So this PA who belongs to this battalion sees this battalion of soldiers, which is about 1,200 people, give or
Okay.
take. You have your brigade surgeon who oversees the technical aspect of those providers.
Wow.
And the three of us kind of work together hand in hand to make sure that access to care is available for the soldiers.
Mhm.
So to make sure that soldiers are being seen in a reasonable amount of time,
Mhm.
so within 7 days or
Mhm.
sometimes 24 hours.
Wow.
And you know, we also have the medics, the nurses, the ancillary staff that we all work together as a team to make
Mhm.
sure we meet the mission and we take care of our patients appropriately.
Right.
So the success of my clinic isn't because of me; it's because of everyone that I work with.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. And that's a good mentality to have. It's never by yourself.
So it's never, I don't like taking credit for the success of the clinic.
Right.
Because my medics, my nurses, my providers are the ones that are doing the day-to-day operations, the footwork essentially.
Sure.
And my job, in my eyes, is to make sure they have those resources to take care of those
To
patients.
do their job, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Do some of those soldiers, and you said you want to provide easy access to that healthcare, but like, do some of those soldiers opt for going to a civilian hospital, if there is one close by?
So with active duty, you have to be seen at
Do you? Okay.
the military treatment facility.
Oh.
There are times where they can be referred outside because, of course, you don't have, depending on where you're at, you may not have every single specialty in that facility.
Sure.
So you have to be sent out to the civilian
Okay.
hospitals and stuff like that.
Okay. So kind of like along those same lines, like, what if, you had a family member that got sick, or you needed like to go home and leave the military to go take care of them? How easy is it to like kind of leave?
Well, it really depends on. It's a case by case basis, because of course, every soldier has their requirement of how long they have to serve.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into what job that soldier what job he or she does.
Mm-hmm.
If the Army can even allow them to leave the service.
So wow.
So it could be easy, it could be really hard. It really depends on the situation.
So essentially, the Army owns you
For those 4 years.
for those 4 years.
Yeah.
But did you ever get that sense that the military owns you or the Army owns you? I'm sure some people do, but like.
I did at the beginning.
Okay.
I actually wanted to get out after my first tour.
Wow.
After my first assignment.
Okay.
I didn't think. I had a hard time with my job, only because of the leaders that were above me.
Okay.
Within that area, it was pretty toxic.
Okay. They showed you what not to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't what I thought it was going to be like. I met a mentor who basically told me to stick it out. He saw what I can provide to the military. He wanted me to continue to stay in the military to help be the change.
Yeah.
And I'm glad he told me to stick it through, because
It's gotten better. It's all uphill.
yeah, now it's all uphill.
Now uphill.
That's one of the reasons why Melissa got out.
Same, like, poor leadership?
Poor leadership.
Okay.
It wasn't what she thought the military was going to be like, and essentially, we wanted to start a family as well too. So,
Yeah.
she was okay with leaving the military after 4 years.
Wow. Okay. And did she mention that she wanted to get back into working in general, but not the Army, right? She wanted to.
Yeah, she worked at the VA for a little bit.
But like she wants to go back eventually as a civilian nurse.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Gotcha. And maybe after you serve your 16 left, or
I have 14.
14
well,
left?
actually, my contract is very So when you go into when you come in as an officer, you have a indefinite contract.
Oh.
So, well, it's an indefinite contract. You have to serve a minimum of 4 years unless you owe more years.
Okay, okay.
So it's what we call ADSO, additional duty service obligation. So, say you wanted to, you really wanted to be stationed somewhere, I guess. Or no, that's a bad example. So say for me, I wanted the Army to pay for my school, for more of my school loans. And I think at the time I owed $40-something thousand. And at the time it was, if you want the Army to pay for your school loans, for every $25,000 the Army gave you to pay off your loans, you owed 1 year extra.
Oh, okay.
So my initial contract was at least 6 years I had to be in the military.
Sure. Okay.
And then I already finished my 6 years. So now, since I served my initial obligation to the military, I can put in a packet where I get out, or I just stay in until the Army either kicks me out or I reach the age limit.
So what does life after the military look like for you?
I keep
stay-at-home dad.
I keep telling everyone I'm gonna be a stay-at-home dad, or a Walmart greeter, or
a Walmart greeter. Oh man,
or something really,
low key.
But probably go fishing for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. Joey.
No, but I wanna
of service. How can you be of service?
So my plan is, when I retire at 43 years old, give or take, Emmy will be about high school age.
Okay.
So I'd like to be there. My parents were never around for me when it came to being in sports, school activities and stuff like that. So
Sure.
I want to be a part of Emmy's life. I want to be able to, take my kids to soccer practice, football practice, whatever the case may be, and be there for them. So yeah, maybe a stay-home dad. Or just work as a nurse part-time.
Yeah.
I want to be able to do whatever I wanted. If I don't like a job, I can just quit.
So after you get out of the Army, is there a pension with it, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when you finish your 20 years, you'll get your military pension.
Is that a percentage of something, or like what you've been making, or like 75%, 70%?
No, so there's two different types of retirements that the military just implemented, or the Army just implemented too. It's hard to explain. Kind of like a 401k.
Or so you can't pull out of it? You can't cash out, or?
Yeah, I can cash out.
Or say this. Is that enough to live off of?
Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there's two different types of military retirement pensions that you can opt into, but both plans is enough to live off of.
Oh, that's great. You just be a dog walker, just like walk dogs.
Hey, like I said, I want to be able to, wake up and not be forced to go to a job.
You don't have any like entrepreneurial like.
I'm trying to convince some of my doctor friends to open up their own practice, and maybe I can help manage it, like a chief nurse or something like that.
Bro, all right. So my buddy at Northwestern, his brother just opened up one in Steamboat, Colorado, and then another one, I don't know what town, but in Indiana. And he flies between those two places. And Steamboat is like a ski resort in Colorado, and the closest ER was like very far. So they've opened up their own ER, not an urgent care, but an ER, and it's always staffed by like one doc, multiple nurses, a PA, and like it's fully staffed all the time. And like that's exactly like if you had some like entrepreneurial like MD buddies or DO buddies that want to do that like that's, and then you have an excuse to travel then if you obviously do it in another place.
Essentially, I like to be my own boss, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't want to be tied down to something that I hate, you know.
Yeah.
Um, trying to convince my friends to open up their own practice. I'm also.
Is it hard convincing people to do that?
Yeah, because it's pretty expensive,
Okay.
especially when it comes to like malpractice and stuff like that. And that's one of the main problems or main concerns that a lot of people have is
Okay.
malpractice.
Huh. Well, you got to find a market for it and,
Mhm.
and things like that, and maybe and what area? If you could move anywhere in the country? Like when you come back, do you want to come back here, or would you?
I wouldn't mind coming back to the suburbs.
Okay, but like the states, or would you want to like I can see Davey living in like Germany forever.
Oh, I mean, I'm definitely coming back to the States.
Okay.
I love America too much.
Okay, so what part of the country, like, you want to be close to family, or would you like West Coast, or?
We don't know yet. I mean, we
okay.
thought we were gonna retire in Savannah.
Oh, okay. That's why, hence the house.
Hence a house,
okay.
but we decided that maybe that's not a great retirement
Okay.
area. So right now, who knows where we'll end up?
Sure. Damn. So speaking of like family and moving and things like that, like how has that like been, like the process of like picking up the family and
It's
going,
hard.
like emotionally and like
Both.
physically?
Emotionally and physically.
Yeah, for
Especially
sure.
when you have, Emmy's turning a year old
Okay.
next week.
Wow.
2 more weeks.
Okay.
So it was easy going from Hawaii to Georgia with just Melissa and I.
Yeah.
2 adults.
Right.
Pack what we need.
And it's not just like in another part of the country. You're like in another, you're in another country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely hard because, it's not easy taking care of a baby.
No, definitely not.
And then when you add in traveling or moving to another country,
Yeah.
it's emotionally and physically tiring. It's very stressful. But
Is Emmy gonna
it's
learn
worth
German?
it. It's worth it because we're traveling country.
Yeah.
We're traveling the country. We're traveling the world.
She'll look back and appreciate you for this for sure.
Oh yeah.
So how much time do you have to spend in Germany?
I will be there for 3 years.
3 years. Okay. And then from there on, like, you'll have 11 more years, or you said, because you said 14 earlier.
So
you've
I've been in
done
for 6,
and then you'll have 14, and then after 3, so 11. After the 3 in Germany.
No, so when I'm done with Germany, I'll have 9 years in.
Oh, 9. Okay.
Yeah, so 11 left after that.
That's what I mean. So 11
yeah,
left.
So it's every 3 years we'll have to pick up and move, but
Wow.
At the end of the day, it's worth it because I would be able to retire at 43 years old.
Yeah. How did Melissa feel about it? And she's a little more understanding because she's from the military, but like, what about like, I'm thinking of like Davy.
Well, she's not from the military, but she
But like she was in it, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
was
she
in it.
gets it. But like, what if something like is that a reason why most, like, a lot of families break up?
I think so.
All this moving.
All the moving. You have. It's all the moving.
And like that feeling of like, he or she is just like will do whatever the army or military wants them to do, and like they're not really here with
Right,
me,
and
kinda thing.
a lot of people, they might be on multiple deployments, or they might be going to the field every other month, and
Okay.
it's just a lot of time taken away from your family, so it adds up.
Yeah. Were there options to Germany, or was Germany like, were there other places you could have decided on?
There was, yeah. So Germany was my number 4.
Oh shit.
My number
Okay.
4 pick.
Okay.
So it changes every day for us and where you can go. But essentially, I was given a list of things or places where I can pick.
Mm-hmm.
I ranked them from 1 to 10 or something like that. And again, it's like a matching system.
Oh, what was the first 3?
So for my job specifically my job, I had to apply for a board to even get this position.
Okay.
Number 1 was Colorado,
Oh, nice.
and then it was Italy,
Whoa.
and then there was another German city,
Oh, okay.
and then
And then you lucked out, and now you're hanging with Lucas. Life is
crazy,
like a
right?
big circle. It just
Yeah.
like comes back to itself.
It is.
Lucas, you're amazing, by the way. You're a great uncle. And that you're lucky. You have a babysitter, an uncle to like
Yeah, I
help you
know.
out. Oh man, that's great. 3 years, plenty of time for friends and family to visit. Is there anything that I don't have anything else. Is there anything
No, I
you'd
mean,
like to add?
you know, everything that I do now is for the future. You know.
Yeah, and not a lot of people are that proactive about it. That
No.
they don't have that foresight.
And I think that's why I wouldn't say a lot of people fail when they get in the military. I think they're just I don't know, I just don't like that word fail.
Sure.
Misinformed or unprepared.
And so, what are your thoughts on how, or like with the number of homeless veterans? Like, how did that come out to be? Like, poorly mismanaged their like foresight, like they didn't have any foresight when they were in the military, or like, and it's
I think
probably a
so.
different generation of vets as well. So like, where did the disconnect happen?
Are we talking about? So we'll talk about homeless veterans.
Yeah.
I think a lot of homeless veterans, the reason why maybe just they didn't plan appropriately.
Mm-hmm.
They blew through their money. A lot of them is because maybe they hit a financial hardship that they just couldn't overcome.
Mm-hmm. Maybe alcoholism.
Alcoholism.
Pick that up. And it sucks. Like, we're here like bashing fucking veterans, right? But like,
yeah. So I definitely have a different outlook on it because I worked in a hospital that took care of veterans.
Yeah.
Homeless veterans, every single day. And I listened to all their stories.
Yeah.
So it might be just
Oh yes.
specifically for me, in my experience and in my eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of homeless veterans that I've taken care of is because they just liked being homeless.
Oh, it's a choice.
Yeah, it's a choice. It's a choice, and they just don't have family for them because of alcoholism, using drugs, things like that. So they think it's an easier life when you're living
On the streets,
in the streets
or
because they're still collecting
checks. Yeah.
checks.
Yeah, and that's probably why people probably want to get back in, because maybe they don't find their space in the civilian world, so they just.
Yeah.
Do you see any similarities between the military and prison?
What do you mean?
The uniformity, the set schedules, there should be, I think there's a sense of camaraderie in both, maybe slightly different.
Mm-hmm.
But that like set schedule, like when they leave prison, like they might not know how to adjust to civilian life.
I think that's what it is too.
And then they do things, they fall into bad or old habits, and then they want to go back. Because they go back because they want to go back sometimes. And I'm not saying they're like exactly alike, but I've heard other people make that like same comment of like there are some subtle similarities between the two. But you and I probably both agree that like it is what you make of it, and like you have to like take ownership for yourself and do your own homework and research, and hopefully have enough foresight to prepare yourself for the future, whether or not you stay or get out.
Yeah, it's hard because it's such when you're talking about homeless veterans or just veterans who are just struggling in general,
it's hard to put a blanket statement on
Yeah.
like it's a choice or not a choice. It's like we don't know until you talk to that person.
Yeah, because a lot of people, it might be a mental health issue, and it's just so hard.
So what are some, if any of the stories have stuck with you, like maybe regrets or of like stories from these vets that you've treated in the hospital? Like, what has anything stuck with you? Like, if with what they've shared with you that you've kind of like carried on in your work, or like made you remember like this is why I do what I do?
I don't have a story that sticks out with me.
Okay, but like, what do they have regrets at all?
Yeah, I've
Okay.
met some almost veterans who do have regrets.
Of getting in at all, like, completely?
Yeah, because at that time, they're Vietnam veterans, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're seeing a lot of the PTSD that they come back with,
Okay.
and they regret that, because if they would have never joined the military, they would have never had PTSD, and they wouldn't be on the streets right now.
Wow. Wow.
That's the price of war, right?
It's interesting though, like, but because I'm sure a lot of people did, like, sign up for like that, like they, you want to be on the front lines, and
Mhm.
then you go through the stuff, and maybe it wasn't what you expected. But going back to, like, circling back to the beginning, like, I'm glad that there are other options within the military that you don't have to be on the front lines to serve your country.
Yeah. You can be a lab tech if you wanted to, a phlebotomist. They do have chaplains assistants too.
Chaplains, nice.
Mhm.
Okay.
The Army basically has any single job you can think of.
All over the world too.
All over the
Everything
world.
is pretty much traveling. Okay.
Mhm.
That's really cool.
And I think that's why I like the military. They just have a wide range of jobs that you can have, assuming that you have the scores.
Yeah. Yeah. Damn.
We have there are band members too in the Army.
For the football games, or
They do the ceremonies and things
who
like that.
who plays in the football games? Like, who is that? Like, any type of soldier, or like, how does that work?
You talking about like West Point?
Yeah. Oh. So are they students? Those are students.
No. Like what?
Like Navy versus football, like, or Navy versus Army.
I think those are the students that are
Oh,
playing.
yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I never actually thought about that. But there are, service members who are in a band, and that's what they do. They put on a
okay.
uniform. They play.
And they get paid to do that. That's
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
If that's what you want to do.
Hey, I told you there's a job. There's tons of jobs.
Yeah.
You don't just have to be an infantryman.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's awesome. Yeah, that's all I had, Joey. I mean, I don't know if there's any, like, last comments you want to say. I know you had a great time, and you continue to have a great time, and, like, we wish you the best of luck in Germany for the 3 years, and for a smooth transition for you and the family. But
Thank you.
yeah, and you'll, Lucas was doing really well when he was under your wing, and then when you left, like, he's not, kudos to you, Lucas. You did fine. You're doing okay right now, but, like, when you're next to Lucas again in Germany, I'm sure he's gonna, like, buckle up again.
Yeah. It's because his big brother was there. The Army is what you make out of it.
Yeah.
You may like it, or you may hate it. You may love it. You just know that when you put on that uniform, you are representing something greater than yourself.
I love that, and a lot of people are searching for that.
And I'm when I wear the uniform, I act one way. When I'm out of uniform, I might just act a little bit differently.
Yeah, you're pretty stoic in general.
Yeah. But there are just some things where it's a selflessness service.
Yeah.
You have to be. It's something above yourself.
Right. Right.
It's not you anymore. It's.
So we kind of talked about earlier. I know I keep wrapping up, and then diving into things. But, like, what do you think? We kind of touched on this earlier, but, like, what do you think are the keys to finding that fulfillment or passion? And we mentioned, like, creativity and maybe leadership, maybe something like selfless or being a part of something bigger than yourself. Do you think there's anything, like, more to feeling fulfilled in something? Like, a lot of people get into something for the wrong reason, whether it's for prestige or money or because someone told them to. But, how does someone know that they're in something that potentially could blossom into a passion, maybe? Or, like, how do they... What do you feel, I guess, when you're doing your job? Because you look like you're fulfilled, right? So what do you feel?
So, let's put it this way. If you think you're going to make a lot of money in the military, you're wrong.
Oh, okay.
We don't get paid that much money.
Okay.
But to find that passion, it's hard because... So for me, I was angry. my first couple
Angry.
years, because those toxic leaders.
Oh,
right?
sure.
But you have to. I watch a couple of your videos. You just basically have to change your attitude.
Mm-hmm.
Look at yourself in the mirror, and change starts with you. So if you're unhappy about something, do something about it.
Yeah.
Don't just sit around and say, the army did this and now I hate my life, and army
Right.
XYZ.
Right.
The attitude starts with you. Change your behavior. Do something about it. Stop pointing your fingers. And find something that you love.
Yeah.
There's tons of programs in the military where like organizations and groups where you can go join, and you don't have to be you don't have to be worried about work all the time. You can
Okay.
go out, go on adventures, go on hikes,
Yeah.
events and things like that.
Yeah. Super jelly of all the Hawaii stuff.
Yeah, I mean, if you think you're feeling that way, there's probably someone else that feels that way too.
Okay. Yeah, I'm really glad you found that mentor when you had those feelings of wanting to get out, because I'm sure you might have seen this too, but like I'm sure a lot of people felt the same way, maybe didn't find that mentor, and then gave up. Right? They gave up too soon, because they could have been someone influential or great in whatever they were doing, whether that's military or outside. And a lot of people, like, how much time should you put into something before you give it up? 6 months, a year? Yeah, I guess you were in it for a year or 2 years, right?
Over in Hawaii?
When you had those, like, poor leaders.
Oh, yeah, it was about 2-3 years. So, that's the great thing about the military, is that when you're moving every 2 to 3 years, you only have to be in that suck for 2 to 3 years, and you just move on from it, right?
And what if it wasn't a leadership problem? What if it was a task-driven problem? Like, you just weren't fulfilled or satisfied with what you were doing. You weren't feeling stimulated, or you just didn't like it at all. And, like, how much time do you stick with something before you, like let me get out?
You mean get out of that situation? Like, so
Hopefully it's just out of that situation instead of altogether and throw it all away.
there are always people that you can talk to. Commanders have open door policies and things like that.
Are some, I'm sure they are, but like more approachable than others? Like,
oh yeah,
it's intimidating, right? It can be intimidating.
And
so
then sometimes when, let's just say you hate the military, you hate the army because, say I'm a cook now and I hate being a cook, and I want to do something else. You can always talk to retention NCOs and try to see if you can get a transfer into another job. If,
sure.
Depending, everyone's different, but there's other options.
Okay, that's good to know. Yeah,
you don't have to be stuck in the same job the entire time. You can maybe re-enlist to become, I don't know, a physical therapy tech.
No, you're absolutely right, and I think a lot of people, maybe it does, it doesn't, but like it stems down to
you just have to take the initiative.
An ego issue, and it's just like a lack of initiative out there and they're like, I'm just gonna give up and like walk away kind of thing, instead of trying to figure it out and talk to someone about it. And I think I relate to that because like I personally did not like reach out, especially in high school and maybe in college, to as like advisors or mentors as I should have. And maybe that's what I'm trying to like accomplish here. Like I want people to be approachable, and I want to find approachable people for people that don't know what they want to do, so we can have less of those people and more people finding and doing what they love to do, kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. Proactivity and taking initiative is huge, and this circles back to just taking ownership of yourself. Like being responsible and accountable for yourself, and taking your life back into your own hands, and not having the victim mentality of like the world is out to get me, or like the world sucks kind of thing. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Thank you, Joey. I mean, that's all I had.
Yeah, man. Hopefully, there's some benefit to this.
Yeah. I hope if it helps one person, and if that one person is Lucas, that's okay. It's all good. No, you're gonna do good things. You're helping a lot of people, and I wish I could, see that. Maybe if you wanted to one day like document like people that you've made a difference to, that's cool too. But you are making a difference in people's lives, whether they're your patients or the people that you're mentoring. Like, I love that, and I know you love that as well. Like, I will never forget the moment you like I couldn't figure out blood pressure for like the life of me, and like
I still have the blood pressure cuff at home. I still keep on to it.
And I know, and you helped me out with it, and like, and you will, I'm sure you do that every day in whatever capacity. So keep doing you, Joey, and we're watching.
Yeah,
we're keeping an eye on it.
If I help out one person,
yeah, right.
You're helping out.
That's really all that matters.
Yeah, it's a domino effect.
So we'll end it there. But like the last video that I posted